Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I did a couple of videos about that fight in Wisconsin over the at-will employees who wanted to leave one hospital and go work for another. And Hospital A sued to stop the workers even though they were at will, went into court, got an injunction and said, we'll suffer irreparable harm if you let these workers leave. And a judge actually agreed with that temporarily and issued a temporary injunction and stopped those workers from leaving, but it was over the period of a weekend. And so the story that I first did went up on a Friday, and in that story I said, look, it's the weekend. I'm willing to bet you that the judge is hoping the parties will resolve this without forcing him to have a hearing, but if not, there'll be a hearing on Monday. Sure enough, there's a hearing on Monday. After that hearing, the judge said, you know something, I can't do this. I can't have an injunction here. I got to let these at-will workers work where they want. And so they went their separate ways. So here's the deal. I mentioned in that second video that there's still an underlying lawsuit because the first lawsuit that was brought in this, the first action, was brought based on a lawsuit. So you file the lawsuit, you ask for injunctive relief, but the lawsuit also asked for money damages, claiming that not only do we want to stop these workers from leaving, but they've harmed us by leaving, or the other hospitals harmed us by taking them away from us. In fact, I had several people complain and say, Steve, you got that wrong. Because I'd mentioned that Hospital A was suing Hospital B. And I had several people say, Steve, they're suing the workers, they're not suing the hospital. Well, actually, if you look at the case caption, it was Hospital A suing Hospital B. So the workers were caught in the middle, but it was the two hospitals that were the named parties in the case. So here's the deal. The underlying lawsuit has now been dropped. So this story is from the Appleton Post-Crescent, who's been doing all the best work on this story. Madeline Heim wrote it. Nick sent it to me. Thanks a lot, Nick. ThedaCare drops lawsuit against Ascension over hiring of former employees, which had gained national spotlight, and that's putting it lightly. This story riled up a lot of people, understandably, because most people recognize that at will has benefits and also costs. So if you've ever been fired from an at-will job, you know that it can come as a surprise. They walk in when they see you're fired. Boom, you're gone. They don't need to explain to you why, you're just gone. Likewise, if you get a better offer, you can leave. And I had a lot of people say, Steve, but what do they sign a non-compete? Well, a non-compete would have been in the form of a contract, and every story on this said there was no contract between the parties. So there was no non-compete. So ThedaCare, president and CEO, told the Post-Crescent Friday that his health system needs to focus its efforts on finding people to fill the positions that were vacated, not on pursuing legal action. So they're dropping their lawsuit against Ascension, Wisconsin, over the former employees that they had previously argued that Ascension had improperly recruited to work at their hospital. Improperly. Lawyers for ThedaCare filed a notice of voluntary dismissal of the case Friday with the county clerk of courts. And a lot of times there is a little bit more that goes into dismissing a lawsuit, but generally speaking, a lawsuit is started by one party filing a complaint against another party. That's the complaint, that's the lawsuit. So I serve you with the lawsuit, you're now being sued, right? And so somewhere down the road, it's often 21 days or 28 days or 30 days, but somewhere down the road, you have to file an official answer to the complaint. Once you have filed the answer to the complaint, both parties are before the court, and quite often, you cannot simply dismiss your case if an answer has been filed, because of the fact that the other side has incurred costs in answering the complaint. So a lot of courts, a lot of states say that once the other side has answered, you need the court's permission to dismiss your lawsuit. However, in many states, if the other side has not answered the complaint officially, you can just dismiss your complaint on your own. Now, I'm not sure exactly what's going on here because obviously the defendants in this case had responded by showing up in court for the hearings on the injunction and so on. I don't know if they ever filed an official answer to the complaint. So the point is that they dismissed their lawsuit. It was a voluntary dismissal. They just dismissed it. ThedaCare has asked many of its employees who work in similar roles to the 7 interventional radiology technicians and nurses who left to fill in the gaps, said Friday, as well as seeking help from traveling agencies and other health systems. So they're trying to ask other people to pick up the slack here. Other systems, both within and outside of Wisconsin, have offered resources. Of course, when asked who that was that offered the help, the person did not say. And we're talking about the CEO of the hospital. So, meanwhile, The Neenah Hospital has not had to send any patients to other hospitals for lack of available care since these employees left, he said. So they had made an argument apparently in court that if these workers are allowed to leave, we're going to be stuck. We're going to have to turn people away or send people to other hospitals or do something. Turns out that never happened. The sky never fell. In court on Monday, the president of Theta Care's Neenah Hospital said the organization was spending about $11,000 on a healthcare training company to help get employees up to speed in covering the roles. This week has went well. Next week seems to be on track. And then beyond that, we also continue to see a good process by which we should have the right number of people we need to be able to continue our care in trauma and stroke for the community. He said he hopes the relationship between Theta Care and Ascension, which has contributed to community initiatives like Catalpa Health and COVID-19 resources like the vaccine clinic at the Fox Cities Exhibition Center, will continue. The two Fox Valley hospitals gained national spotlight this week after Theta Care filed the lawsuit last Thursday, along with a request for a county circuit court judge to block 7 former at-will employees who worked at its Neenah Hospital from starting new jobs at Ascension's hospital in Appleton. So, lawyers for Theta Care had claimed that Ascension had acted inappropriately by hiring away the majority of a specialized team of workers at once, and wrote in their complaint that doing so had jeopardized high-level stroke and trauma care in the community. So they actually said this other hospital is putting lives at risk by what they've done here. The judge granted an amended version of the request the next day, barring the employees from starting their jobs until he made a further ruling on the matter. But of course, the further ruling came on Monday. So all 7 employees appeared in court Monday for a formal hearing. Those who testified said they'd given Theta Care a chance to match the other hospital's offer of higher pay and better work-life balance, and had been told that the short-term cost of losing them was not worth the long-term expense to matching the offers. So all of these people said, we went to them before we resigned and said, here's what we've been offered, can you match it? And the hospital said, no, we can't. Sorry. So on Monday, the judge overturned the temporary restraining order, barring them from starting work at their new hospital, saying that Theta Care could find and already was finding alternate staffing solutions to fill in the gaps. All 7 employees were able to start at Ascension Tuesday, and lawyers for Theta Care said Monday they would compensate them for missing that day's work. News of the lawsuit and request for the temporary injunction gained traction fast among the healthcare and legal communities, illustrating the struggle healthcare companies are facing trying to retain workers these days because of the coronavirus pandemic. The New York Times and the Washington Post both wrote about the issue, and Ask a Manager, a popular Twitter account that gives advice on workplace conflicts, called it seriously effed up. No mention of Steve Lehto on YouTube rambling on about it twice. Oh well. Someday I'll make the news. Meanwhile, the guy from the first hospital said Friday that the national attention on the lawsuit had surprised him. He said he understood the impact on the employees who were caught in the dispute, but said he felt that Theta Care's reasoning for pursuing the legal action had been lost in social media discussions. He said they were trying to preserve around-the-clock stroke and trauma care in the region. Yeah, with slave labor. So you've got workers who want to leave, and you want to hold them there against their will and force them to work. How did the media spin that wrong? He said, what we were looking for is just some help to orderly transition a large number of people from one health system to another. It just created a huge gap, and we wanted some help in the interim to figure out how to bridge that gap for the community. Maybe you should have thought of that when they came to you and said, can you match these offers? Because you should have thought to yourself, if I say yes, it's going to cost us this. If I say no, it's going to cost us also, because they're all going to leave. This is not that complicated. A spokesperson for Ascension, Wisconsin, did not immediately respond to a request for comment Friday afternoon. So they did the classy thing. No comment. Nothing to comment on. But I find it quite amusing that the person from the hospital, the CEO of the hospital, says that the media social media got this wrong and missed the point of what he was trying to do. He simply wanted to keep his hospital running with employees that he didn't want to pay what they were entitled to. These employees came to him and said, we've been offered this. That's what we're worth in the marketplace. And if you don't believe us, we'll go there and get this to prove that that's what we're worth. Can you match that? He said no. What right does he have to hold them there against their will when this is an at-will situation? But social media got it wrong. No, we did not get it wrong. We got it completely right. And the backlash that everyone has, you have to understand something. I'm just a guy shooting videos in Michigan. I'm an attorney and I've got a channel on YouTube, but I simply shoot videos on YouTube. And I'm going to tell you right now that the videos I shot about this have been viewed by quite a few people. And so, in case you're curious, we'll go back and take a look at this. Hang on, how far back do I have to go? There might be an edit here as I try to save some time. So, my video, Hospital Sues At-Will Workers for Getting Better Jobs, has 421,000 views and 9,300 comments. Okay? Then, a couple days later, update, judge lifts hospital TRO. 227,000 views and 2,400 comments. And by the way, 13,000 thumbs ups. 13,000 thumbs ups. And by the way, that's a ratio of about 99 to 1. Actually, closer to 999 to 1. But we won't get into that much. That doesn't matter as much. What matters, though, is this fact that you've got 421,000 people who've watched my video, 9,000 of them commented, 18,000 of them gave it a thumbs up, and those are the people that are important here. Not me. Not me. I simply shot the video and told the story. The story's in the news, right? The reaction is the hundreds of thousands of people who watch the video and go, what's going on here? And no one can accuse me of getting the facts wrong in these stories. I've had a few people say, Steve, I think you should have spent more time explaining this or a little more time explaining that. But no one has ever accused me of saying, Steve, you got the facts completely wrong. Not in these stories. Not in these stories. This is pretty clear cut. We know what happened here, right? There's one hospital. I kept calling them Hospital A. Second hospital, we'll call them Hospital B. Okay? And there were workers here at will who were offered better pay and better working conditions over there. Since they're at will employees, they said, oh, we can go. But they did offer to stay if the offers were matched. And Hospital A said no, so they left. The fact that there were several of them leaving at the same time apparently is what freaked the hospital out. But again, whose fault is that? Because they had a way to keep it from happening and they chose not to do that. And as a lot of people commented, the hospital, instead of spending money to retain employees, spent money to sue the other hospital. That is not the social media horizon getting this wrong, okay? The social media atmosphere or social media sphere did not get this wrong, okay? The hospital, ThedaCare, got it wrong. And now the CEO is trying to say, well, I was just trying to do something or other. Doesn't matter what you were trying to do, okay? If you're in court and you're facing a very serious crime and intent is an element to the crime, yeah, it might matter what you're trying to do. However, here, we don't have to worry about what you were trying to do. We can look at what you did do. And that's more important. And what you did do was file a lawsuit where you were attempting to take away the livelihoods of 7 people who work in the healthcare industry. And over a period of 1 weekend, those 7 employees were sitting at home wondering if they're going to be able to go to work the following week. Now, I had predicted that they probably would be able to, but that was a prediction on my part. I couldn't back that up with anything other than an educated guess. And luckily, they got to go to work the next week. But what did the hospital actually do versus what did they want to do? And by the way, I don't care when people say, oh, well, what I was trying to do. Oh, I was trying. Don't tell me what you're trying to do. Let's just look at what you actually did do. And what you did was you filed the lawsuit to try to stop the workers who were at will from leaving. And strangely, everybody saw that was wrong except for you, apparently. So there you go. Yes, I'm lecturing the CEO of a hospital. Nick sent me the story. Madeline Heim wrote it for the Appleton Post-Crescent. ThedaCare drops lawsuit against Ascension over hiring of former employees, which had gained the national spotlight for good reason. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Always be thankful for the little things. Even the smallest mountains can hide the most breathtaking views.